So basically what happened is about a decade ago, we were working on a project on a small iron ore mine in the Northern Cape. And we were doing culture and efficiency work. And what actually happened was the client said, you're doing great work here, but the problem that we're finding is that you're not working through our supervisors. In essence, you're just doing it to our supervisors. And he said, listen, I need you guys to bring a supervisory product along the line here. And to be brutally honest, we had no idea because we either come from culture or efficiency. And we actually had to build this from scratch. So we sat there on this Northern Cape mine and we said, you know what, let's basically look at it from scratch. So let's look at the competencies. Let's look at how they execute their day. Let's look at how every team's got their key performance. Give them some relevant training that they can use on the floor. And then coach them for 16 weeks. And literally what happened is through the coaching and obviously all the other initiatives that happened, we just saw an incredible increase of productivity. Throughput went through the roof. The commodity price for iron ore was good that year, so they really loved it. So that's basically the history of what happened. Supervisors in South Africa and Africa that we've worked with, there's a big issue around that. So we're basically finding that your average supervisor in South Africa, only 19% are competent in their role. We find that 78% are unstructured. They run around firefighting. It's a great mode. They're in a firefighting mode. The worst competency is planning and organizing. The second worst competency is leading. So they don't know how they lead their teams. And the third worst competency is basically is analysis and problem solving. So we say to clients a lot of times, stop throwing data at your supervisors. They don't want it. They like firefighting mode. So we come along and we coach to improve. And we've literally seen a turnaround, a quite effective turnaround, where suddenly planning and organizing has jumped by 30%. Around about 56% of the people we work with become competent, so it's from 19 to 56. They only effectively execute their day. 51% of the activities they execute effectively. When we finish, it's about 89, 90%. So the supervisory space, what we say is, if the supervisor doesn't kick, nothing happens. So the supervisor is the face of the company. He will make sure the shift happens or doesn't happen. Targets are achieved, targets aren't achieved. The culture you want is through the supervisor. We call the supervisor the culture carrier. He carries your culture. So that's why we have a big focus on the supervisor. This is literally our big differentiator. So we coach 16 weeks with supervisors. Supervisors, and in South Africa, you've got something called the MO, a mine overseer or superintendent. We coach for 16 weeks on a daily basis. And the reason, when we were building the program, the reason we do that is that Monday is different to Tuesday. Tuesday is different to Wednesday. Wednesday is different to Thursday, etc., etc., etc. You need to understand the pressures and the pushes and the strains that each supervisor goes through on a daily basis. You need to know his environment. You need to understand his team. You need to know his personality, how he sees things, how he reacts. I mean, we're working with guys that sometimes can plan very well. They just can't communicate. We've got other guys that are brilliant communicators. They just know how to plan. And so what we try to do is, with our coaching, we say, listen, there's certain things you need to put in place. You need to have a well-structured team meeting. You need to have visual management. There needs to be a code of conduct amongst team members so that you can hold each other accountable for behavior. So we say, and you need an effective shift management book. But once you've got those things in place, then it's about the behaviors of each of the supervisors and the MOs, superintendents. That's what we start talking about, saying, okay, hang on, this is how you do this. This is how you do. Why do you need to plan? Why do you need to do this? And so you start building into the lives. So that's why we call it coaching to performance framework, because we basically believe if you don't coach people, a lot of our supervisors, the guys get this impression that our supervisors are lazy or they're not effective at. No, a lot of the supervisors we work with don't know what they don't know. They've never been shown how to do things properly and effectively and why they should. So we come in and we coach, and it's not huggy coaching. It's hard coaching. It's coaching to make your plan. It's coaching to make targets. So our coaches are mostly engineers. I'm not talking about, we're not rude coaches, but we're effective to ensure that the shift happens so the target is achieved. So, and we measure. Coaching is about measurement. Is the person, is his score increasing? If his score increases, that means there's going to be better KPI output, more meters, more effective blasts, better schedule attainment, better availability. So it's not just that, oh, we coach. This is a measured coaching to see if there's an operational benefit. Our biggest success has obviously been the South Deep turnaround from Goldfields. I think everyone knows the history of South Deep, 11 years of not making profit. And what was asked, we were asked in late 2018, there was a tender process, we were asked to come on board, we got the tender, and then from 2019, just after the strike, we went in full bore with our program, focused 80% on coaching your frontline leaders. We also did some senior leadership coaching, and we did some small efficiency stuff, and we did a massive culture change there. So what we did is we created a new culture within South Deep, and then basically we coached up the frontline leaders and supervisors, and we basically made them more effective. And through that, the tons started coming, and the mine was turned around. I think you all know, I think 2020 they were able to say that they made a profit. And the greatest thing for us is that South Deep internalized the process, that they are still sustainable now. They're still using the tools. They've taken the tools that we left them. They've internalized it. They own the tools. They've put their twist and spin on it. And it's really been an incredibly great project there. It's been a real success story for us. We don't like talking about mechanization. We like talking about modernization, because modernization takes a few disciplines into consideration. When you talk about mechanization and or digitization, what a lot of companies do is they basically force technology upon the workforce, but they don't change the mindset and they don't coach you into the new way of work. So what usually happens is in the first year of implementation, you usually find the stories of, oh, we're only really getting 20% of benefit here. The workforce has sabotaged this stuff. It's and there's a lot of issues around it. So what we say, when you talk about modernization, when you implement a new digitized strategy or you bring in more mechanization, and depending on what mine type you have, a lot of mines can't be mechanized, so you want to digitize. But if you're going to full modernization route, you've got to take your workforce on a journey with you. And you need to coach them into why this is a benefit and take away the fear. Because what we notice, a lot of companies don't understand, specifically in South Africa and African continent, is the fear of what happens, does automation mean I don't have a job? And those are the real worries that happen. So we still say is you need to take it all into consideration. But the other thing is, you're always going to have supervisors. You're always going to have people that need to make decisions. You're always going to have engineers. There's always going to be a plant. It's not like there's not going to be an individual person or there'll be no one. It's not just going to be someone sitting in Toronto and drilling in, let's say, Katu. That's not going to happen. You're still going to have people there. You're still going to have to manage people. So you still need to coach people effectively, but you need to coach them around the new way of doing things. What we noticed is that we were working with millennials, and we found that the millennial supervisors were still working as if they were 2000 supervisors. But the people that were teaching them were basically teaching them how they were taught. So what we were having old style management routines, old style way of working, like very autocratic, very assertive, I'm the boss, you will do that, still being done by millennials. So the question that we always said is, having millennials on board doesn't guarantee that there'll be a modern way of working, because they don't know any other way of working. And still, the layers above still have a certain way of how they see things. So it's sometimes very difficult to even get new things in. So what we say here is, you need to coach, you need to make sure coaching occurs, you need to take the whole company with you. Otherwise, what you get is a substandard and a really not optimized new way of work.